starting with those comments about the siege that really started the rot really within the party, and the disaffection from people like you, and we saw a lot of councillors resigning in Burnley, Walsall, Oxford. Has he changed his position, or trying to parse that last statement from today? Is he merely being lawyerly?
Look, the problem with Keir Starmer is he's someone who shifts his positions so easily, and frankly, whether his leadership campaign where he committed to nationalisation, higher taxes on the rich, abolishing tuition fees, scrapped all of that. He's someone with a very duplicitous political record. Look, I'm torn in terms of a statement today. I'm torn between, whatever puts pressure on the British government, which is a key supporter of Israel, which arms Israel, whatever puts more pressure on them to end this nightmare has to just be welcomed. You've got to be pragmatic about it in that sense, because we're talking about tens of thousands of Palestinians being slaughtered. And I'm also torn by the fact that Keir Starmer is, in my view, complicit in one of the great atrocities of our age. What you discussed there in terms of what he said to Nick Ferrari, it is the responsibility of journalists to say things as they actually are. And in that particular case, he supported war crimes. It's very clear. Article 33 of the Geneva Convention prohibits collective punishment against a civilian population. Calling for a country to have the right to cut off water and energy to a civilian population is a straightforward violation of international law. He's a human rights lawyer. He knows international law. I knew what Article 33 of the Geneva Convention says. Clearly, he has no excuse. So, what he also then did is sack people who called for a ceasefire, purge MPs, including Andy MacDonald, who called for peaceful coexistence of Israelis and Palestinians, presided over the mass resignation of multiple ministers who obviously opposed what was happening. When those councillors, predominantly Muslim councillors, quit, they were briefed against in the most horrendous, dehumanising way. It's like flies dropping away or something. I can't remember the exact term that was used. So what pressure's paid off, people campaigning has paid off, but what was the price? What was too high for Keir Starmer? 14,000 dead children. 14,000 children buried under rubble,
you're talking,
who suffered violent deaths. Was the limit, was it?
You're talking as if Keir Starmer could, by changing what he said on a breakfast show on LBC, change actually what happened on the ground in Gaza. And and I know that he couldn't. It would have been a signal as to what he wished would happen. It wouldn't actually have any material impact on either the government of Benjamin Netanyahu or on the terrorist government of Hamas.
Two things there. Firstly, I don't accept what you just said there at all, because Britain is one of the biggest supporters of Israel.
He's not in government. He's not. No, he's leader of the opposition. Yeah, go on. Keep going.
Let me finish my point. What Keir Starmer did is protect the government from public pressure. The polling has been very clear from the very beginning. Overwhelmingly, people support a ceasefire. It's a fringe position in public opinion to oppose an immediate ceasefire. YouGov the other day made that clear. But back in October, the vast majority supported a ceasefire. If Keir Starmer had called for a ceasefire at that point, that would have put immense pressure on Rishi Sunak to do the same. But the government was protected by Keir Starmer. The point you just said there of, if Keir Starmer supports war crimes, why does it matter? If Keir Starmer...
that's not what I said.
That's what you're saying.
No, I said...
Rachel, can I ask you...
Whether he supported a ceasefire or not would not have made any difference to what has happened over the past 105 months.
Do you accept cutting off water and energy to a civilian population is a war crime? Do you accept that?
Yes, I do.
So if Keir Starmer had said Vladimir Putin has the right to cut off energy and water to civilians in Ukraine, I don't think you'd go, well, it won't make any impact on what Vladimir Putin does. He'll still do it whether Keir Starmer says it or not. You would accept that would be an abhorrent position, which would be correct. What Keir Starmer said there was a disgrace, and it was part of a culture which gave Israel a word which is very important: impunity. Oh. Israel knows that it can slaughter 14,000 children, wipe out most of the civilian infrastructure, destroy every hospital in Gaza, because politicians, both in government and in opposition in the West, have granted a culture of impunity to Israel. Their leaders say things like they're human animals, we're going to lift all the restraints on Israeli soldiers and create the defense minister, that we should look to Amalek in the Bible, where God called for the Israelites to kill all men, women, children, and livestock. They know they can say that out loud because people like Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak, their view is they can get away with anything. That's why we're in this mess.
I don't think that's why we're in this mess. But can I just ask you, how do you think Labour's going to vote next week during the SNP motion for a ceasefire?
Well, that's the test, isn't it? Because earlier on, Keir Starmer said, I think yesterday, that it depends on reading the text. The ceasefire text has been out since Wednesday. I don't, he's got a team of researchers, people around him. He could clearly have looked at that very quickly and come to a clear judgment. So whether the danger with his positioning at the moment is he keeps talking previously about a sustainable ceasefire. Now, in practice, that is a lawyerly way often of saying, basically, when Hamas is destroyed. But that just is Israel's official war aim. So it's no difference from what the Israeli government's saying. So the position has to be, the test is, does he vote for the SNP's motion, which is for an immediate ceasefire? If he fails to do so, then all this is hot air and meaningless and just him worrying about the fact that he's going to lose certain sections of his voter base. It's in the bag for the next election because the Tories have destroyed themselves. But he's obviously